Welcome back to DeMarais Dominance Fantasy Football. We're coming to you from, not live, I was going to say live, but we're not live, we're tape delay, from our North Prairie basement. Kelsey is intimidating. This year promises to be the best year yet as we take a look at recap. Man, this broadcasting stuff is tough. Take a look at what has happened in the past leading up to the future. If we take a look at last year, if you remember, Jacob DeMarais got a little lucky with his Norbs Knights and came through with the championship with a record of 9-5. And for the second year in a row, JV QB, I've noticed a trend here. In 2009, it was C Squad QB. In 2010, the name changed to JV QB. And this year, we have another name change, Varsity QB. Now, I don't know if that's asking for us to give him accolades for his athletic accomplishments or if he just feels the need to continue changing his name. But notice everyone else has remained pretty much the same. Last year, rounding out the bottom of our standings was DeMarais Dragons at 3-11. She has pledged diligently that she will come back and redeem herself, as she no longer wants to see the porcelain crown in the background. The only porcelain crown she wants to see is the one she is sitting on. Anyways. Moving on. We have, going into this year, we have a few new things to take a look at. For starters, we are looking at a new member in our league this year. Kaylee is taking over the team for Mom. It was put to a league vote to see if Kaylee would be welcomed in as a new member, bringing us to 9 teams, but after going through the logistics, it came out that 9 teams, or an odd number, would be impractical, as a team would have a bye each and every week. Some teams would have multiple byes, and nobody wants to have a bye here. So unfortunately, we will not be able to have Kaylee have her own team, as Mom is going to be the acting GM and Kaylee will be classified as the coach. Kaylee, there is some good news though. You will receive your own team when a few circumstances are met. One, if Jake and Connie get married sometime this decade, you will be able to receive your own team because Connie will come in and immediately be pushed to the bottom as a front runner for the porcelain crown. A second scenario for you to win is if we ever find out if Ben and Caitlin are serious or not. I don't know. Maybe there's a possible matrimony in the future there, but I wouldn't bring it up because Ben kind of shies away from anything where it's planning more than tomorrow. The third and more probable scenario, Kaylee, is that you will receive your own team when Christopher is of age and can join the league as well, bringing us up to 10. So unfortunately for now, it looks like you may have to wait a little bit. If you would like a team in the near future, put some pressure on Jake, and we'll see if we can get that done. Which brings us to this year. As we look, we have a few new scoring rules to go over. For starters, if we look at the quarterback column, or we're looking at passing here, remains pretty much the same, although we are going to add 1 point for every 10 completions. So for every 10 completions, the quarterback will receive 1 extra point. Other than that, it's pretty much the same as in years past. You get 1 point for every 25 yards, 4 points for a touchdown, -2 for an interception. The quarterback does receive points for rushing as well, so if he ever runs, he's kind of viewed as a running back. So those of you who like to draft mobile quarterbacks can take that into consideration. Rushing with running backs, we decided to beef up the running back totals a little this year as our league became pretty wide receiver dominated last year. So now we have a few bonuses in there. Along with getting 1 point for every 10 yards rushing and 6 points for a rushing touchdown, we are going to add a bonus for a 100-yard game. If your running back gets 100 yards, you will have 3 extra points. If your running back has a 200-yard game, you will have 6 extra points. So hopefully we will see an increase in the running back scoring this year. For receiving, it remains pretty much the same. We have 1 point per reception, and you get 1 point every 10 yards, plus the usual 4 touchdowns. When we move on, kicking game is going to be a little interesting this year. For kickers, in the past, we've had 1 point for a extra point made. We've had 3 points for a field goal. And then as you move back, if it was between 40 and 49 yards, you received 4 points. If it was over 50 yards, you received 5 points. Now this year, we are going to penalize your kicker for missing field goals. So if you have a kicker who can't find the uprights, you may be in trouble. If you miss an extra point, it is going to be -3 points, because no one should miss an extra point, not even Liam. When it gets to a field goal between 0 and 39 yards, it'll be -2 points if they miss it, and 40 to 49 yards, -1. You will not be penalized if your kicker attempts one over 50 yards and does not make it. On the team defensive front, last year we had too many negative points coming from the defense, so we're going to change things up a little bit. Defenses can no longer get you negative points. Instead, you will not receive any points if the team scores more than 21 points. So if the Packers are playing the Bears and the Bears score 22 points, your Packers defense would get you 0 points in terms of that category. We're also going to give defenses a little more points if they have a valiant effort on the field. For example, if your defense gives up less than 100 yards, you will get a 10-point bonus. If your defense gives up between 100 and 199 yards, you will receive a 6-point bonus. And if your defense gives up between 200 and 299 yards, your team will receive a 3-point bonus. So we are looking to give teams a little incentive there to have a solid defense while not penalizing you too much. Another thing new this year is we are going to be instituting a salary cap in which we need to keep our eyes on the amount of transactions we make, who we pick up, who we drop, that sort of thing. To do that, each team is going to get a $25 allowance, and you can spend that $25 throughout the year. Once you go over your $25 salary cap, your transactions will be null and void. You will not be able to pick anyone up, drop anyone, or complete any trades. To do this, all right, to add a player to your roster will cost you 50 cents. To drop a player from your roster will cost you 50 cents. So every add-drop combination will be $1. That means you can pick up and drop 25 times throughout the year to give you your $25 allowance. Along with that, it will be $1 for every trade you complete. So you can complete up to 25 trades throughout the year. Now, some people may be looking at this and saying, oh, that's, I like it. One person I know for sure that is not happy with this is John. The past 2 years, John has gone transaction happy, picking up 38 players and 32 players the last 2 years, respectively. So we can call this the John DeMarais rule, as we look forward to a $25 salary cap and trying to stay within those boundaries. Which brings us to the draft tonight. We have the draft set up at 7 p.m. It is traditional snake format. Kelsey was going to have the first overall pick, but since Kaylee is new to the league, she has given that pick to Kaylee. So Kaylee will be picking first, and Kelsey will be picking second. Then we have Tim with the 3rd pick. We have Matt with the 4th pick, Ben with the 5th pick, Dad with the 6th, John with the 7th, and Jake with the 8th. Just a reminder that as once you get to 8, then it will turn around and Jake will come back down. He will have the first pick in round 2. So really, Jake gets 2 picks in a row at the end of the first round and beginning of the second round, which should be rather interesting to see if running backs, quarterbacks, wide receivers, or tight ends go in the first round. Again, our draft is at 7 o'clock. Let's try to keep this moving. There is a 90-second window for each trade. Draft etiquette would have you stay within 30 to 45 seconds, so we are not drafting all night long. Jake has a commitment at 8 p.m. tonight, so for those of you who are looking to stall and maybe have Jake miss out on the last few rounds, maybe you would have a little gamesmanship and take some time in your picks. I, however, would not recommend that. Let's keep our draft etiquette, have our picks ready to go, and let's make this go relatively quickly. After the draft and we get going, we can take a look at the schedule for this year. There are already a few key matchups. So we look, week 1 is the big week off the bat. For starters, we are starting off with the Butler Bulldogs at the DeMarais Dragons. So we have husband versus wife in the opening round. To see how that goes, tune in. We also have Girl Power with her first game facing off against older brother Ben. So we'll see if she enters the league strong or if she fizzles out. We also have a rematch of the championship game, as Norb's Knights will be taking on Varsity QB, which is sure to be a barn burner. Moving throughout the year, week 4, we have a matchup of Girl Power versus Timmy's Typhoons. Should be a rather interesting matchup. Teams generally on the bottom, but could finish strong. In week 5, we have a matchup of the former Cotter quarterback and the current Cotter quarterback to see who is able to captain their team to victory, as well as a matchup of the only 2 girl-operated teams, Girl Power versus DeMarais Dragons. Coming down the stretch, it appears that Ben has a difficult schedule closing out the year with games at Varsity Quarterback and at Butler Bulldogs. See if he can pull off again. Reminder, we have 14 weeks of regular season matchups plus 2 weeks of playoffs, 4 teams making the playoffs. One added note to this year is we will have a tiebreaker. We will not have any ties. For tiebreakers, we are going to total yards. So we will take a look at quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends combined. Total yards will win the tiebreaker. Also, you'll notice that the home team for every matchup this year receives 1 extra point. So we have a little home team advantage going into the year. So that kind of wraps up our pre-season talk here as we get going. Again, I would like to thank you all for your participation. Wish you the best of luck. However, you will need it, as the DeMarais in North Prairie have vowed to do better than they have in the past and really show where the DeMarais dominance name comes from. Good luck to Kaylee. I hope you don't go 0-14. Actually, that would be quite comical, but I think we can count on you for being a little more headstrong than we all expected. Good luck, and we'll see you on the field.